This video is sponsored by Goat Guns model rifles. These die-cast metal, non-firing replicas are easy to assemble and loads of fun. Choose from scale model AK-47s, M16s, AWM sniper rifles, and much more. Gun enthusiasts like you and me will love Goat Guns, but they're also great for kids and gamers who want a hefty, quality model of what they see on screen. Goat Guns are affordable and surprisingly cool. Take 20% off with code SCOUT20 at goatguns.com. Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in to my top 5 knives of 2018 video. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know what I mean by top 5 of 2018. If you're new to the channel or if you just want a little bit of a refresh primer, here's basically the deal. These are not the top 5 knives that came out in 2018 necessarily. These are simply the knives that I have been most impressed with this year. Ones that I've carried a lot, used a lot, some that I haven't carried hardly at all, but I know they're going to be great knives and I'm super impressed with them. So they're on the list, but again, there have been a lot of knives I've been impressed with, but we're whittling it down to 5. But before we jump into that, let's get into this honorable mention that you see in front of you right here. This is the Spyderco the Dragonfly 2 VG10 with the Zome FRN pattern on it. Okay, so Zome is a pattern that is created by some Japanese artisans who build these knives and assemble them and construct them. And what they basically do is add these little bits of colored plastic or colored FRN to the mold, and they do it in this sort of artistic fashion to create these patterns that are nice looking and are balanced and really good looking. Here's another example of a Zome patterned handle, and you can see that they are not the same. They don't line up. There's no similarity really, except the fact that they have alternating colors and they kind of mix together in a way that's very pleasing to the eye. So I picked up this Zome, that's the Delica in S30V. When was it? Year plus ago? I can't remember exactly, but this particular color jumped out at me as being one that was really fun to look at and cool looking and something I wanted to have. And I also just really like things that are visually appealing. So the Zome pattern Spydercos were interesting to me for sure. And when I saw the Zome patterns Dragonfly 2, I was pretty interested in it. Not to mention, I hadn't owned a Dragonfly 2 yet up to that point. Yeah, that's right. I've been collecting knives for years and I did not have a Dragonfly 2 yet. But I solved that problem by picking up this VG10 Zome. Now, what does this little guy go for right here? This guy costs about 60 bucks on BladeHQ.com. Okay, what do I like about it? It's so freaking tiny. Look at that. It is such a small knife, and yet it feels very good in your hand, and you can actually get some really decent work done with it. So great ergonomics on this tiny little knife. Again, the cost about 60 bucks and the weight 1.3 ounces. So it's small enough that you can literally take it anywhere you're legally allowed to, carry it in a bag as a little backup, and have something that's actually quite capable in an extraordinarily small package. That's kind of what I like about the Dragonfly, what I've always been interested in regards to it. And when I finally got my hands on one in this Zome color, I was stoked to buy it. So there it is, the Spyderco Dragonfly 2 in this sort of brown, green, camo Zome. Very cool looking. That is the honorable mention. Now let's get into the actual list. Should we leave that open over here? Yeah, you want to see it right there, don't you? Yeah, all right, we'll do that. We'll do that since you asked. Number 5. And this only because it's my most recent purchase. Before we jump into the actual knife, let's talk about the original Kershaw Dividend, which I bought shortly after it initially came out and was super impressed with. Check out my review video on this knife. Everything I said about this original version applies to the new version, which I'm going to show you here in a second. It's just an ergonomically very good knife that is super easy to carry, very thin, very light, at 2.95 ounces or so. This one in 420 HC steel with that speed safe, spring assisted opening to it and the flipper on it. Yeah, just a fantastic knife from Kershaw, USA made, that I really like. But the new version right here in M390 is even better. So still USA made. Price has gone up, but not a crazy amount. 80 bucks. Okay, this one 40 bucks. About 40 bucks. So about 40 bucks, about 80 bucks. So doubled, right? For a much better steel, M390 over that 420HC. And you can plainly tell also that there is a big difference between the blade grind on it. The blade shape is the same, so the actual, cutout of the blank will be the same, but they grind it differently. So you see a swedge cutout here on the top, and then you see that we have a sort of a curving sweep right here in the flat ground blade, whereas here we have a sharp cutout on that hollow ground blade. It's very reminiscent of what they do with the Kershaw leak, where we've got one that is hollow ground and then one that is flat ground. Okay? So I love that they've created a flat ground version of it. I would have bought it even if it was the same steel, honestly. But because they upgraded the steel, I like it that much more. Flat ground, M390 steel. Haven't cut a dang thing with it. Just picked it up the other day. But I'm so sure of how much I'm going to like it because, again, I loved the original Dividend, that this is easily making it onto my top 5 list for 2018. There it is, number 5, the Kershaw Dividend. What's next? I'll tell you what's next. This shouldn't be a surprise. If you're a knife guy, this should not be a surprise to you at all. Number 4, Benchmade Bug Out. Why the Bug Out? Why would I put this one on the list? It's extraordinary. It's super thin, super light. You see that there's full flow-through design there with just these 2 little pillars back there, and of course the pivot holding it together. So a little bit of flex in that handle. If you put it to some hard use, you'll definitely feel that. But as far as how well it carries, it buries in pocket wonderfully and beautifully. You see that there's a super nice deep carry pocket clip, and it's short, so it's barely noticeable there in your pocket. So as far as how it carries, it's excellent. So hiking, backpacking, motorcycling, all that type of stuff, this is going to be fantastic for it. It comes in this bright blue, also in, I think it's an OD green, or is it a FDE? Whatever the case, I don't own it, but I've considered picking it up, and it still might. I'm sure that this is going to be coming out in other colors in the future. This is going to be a mainstay for Benchmade. I have no doubt about it. It's a fantastic knife. Thumb stud deployment, axis lock on it. Good solid lockup. Well, roughly, fairly good. A little bit of side to side on that one, but front to back is good because the axis lock is a pretty decent lock. Blade shape is excellent. Really like the both the aesthetic to it and the utility of that shape. So it's going to be a great knife for all kinds of use. S30V steel. It's going to hold an edge a good long time. What's this go for? It costs about 115 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood. And the weight on it, 1.85 ounces. So only about half an ounce heavier than this little tiny guy right here. Yeah, you get this big blade for only half an ounce more than this. Isn't that cool? I think that's very cool, and that's why it is on the list of the top 5 of 2018. Next, after that, this should not surprise you either if you've been watching the channel. Yeah, familiar sound, right? And isn't that cool that I've got 2 really nice looking blues here on the table? They're slightly different blues, but I don't care. This is the anodized aluminum here in that blue. And then we've got, what is the, it's a kind of a bronzed finish that they put on this particular one. This is the UTX85 from Microtech, UTX standing for Ultra Tech times 85, so it's an 85% sized Ultra Tech basically. They're really utilitarian in that you can just pop that blade out, get your cutting done, retract it like that. There's no safety issue as far as closing the blade and potentially getting it on your fingers. Now, Axis is very good. The Axis lock system is very good because you can keep your fingers out of the way as you close that, and that's real nice. And, you know, you can be safe with just about any kind of locking system for sure, but when you think about something like the liner lock here on the Dividend, you do have to put your thumb in front of the blade as you're beginning to close it, and your grip on the knife does kind of put your fingers in a potentially compromising situation if you're not careful, okay? Get used to it, you're gonna be fine. But I love the in and out of these OTFs because there's simply no safety issue ever with these. So there is the UTX85. Might as well show you the other version of it that I own. This one being the Usual Suspect Network version from their gathering down in Las Vegas. Didn't go to it or anything, but I did pick up the knife that was made to commemorate that gathering. It's a Spartan bladed UTX 85 in this OD green, black coated, just super duper attractive, isn't it? Yes, yes it is. This one in a nicer steel, I believe this one's M390. Yeah, I have that right. M390 steel versus the LMAX that was on this one. I believe they've pretty much switched over to using M390, which is pretty cool. M390 on this guy too. What was it again? Cost of this one? Remind me. I'll remind myself. 80 bucks. 80 bucks for that guy. How much for this? 235 bucks. All right, moving on. This will be, I guess, number 2. Wow, we up that high already? Number 2 on the list. And this guy I've had for a good long while, but I keep going back to it because it's so nice to carry, so fun to carry, so fun to use, and it's just so well balanced. Just feels great in hand. Talk about the Osborne 940-2 from Benchmade. This one with the bright green, toxic green, mood-enhancing spacers there in the back. So you've got a full flow-through design, really cool. So this is just an excellent design, number one. But again, in my opinion, and I said this in the original video of this when I did the review, this is the best version of the Osborne. That's my opinion. You can feel free to shoot me down on that. But this, in my opinion, is the best balanced. It's also the least expensive version of the Osborne. That includes the Osborne 943. So that's not a 940, it's a 943. It's got the 940 handle on it, so it's from this side, from this area down, it's all exactly the same, just colored differently from the original 940. But the blade, obviously, you can tell there's a clip point with this dramatic, like way back here, sort of clip going on, and swedge going on up there. So beautiful, almost Bowie-shaped blade, but in my opinion, not as perfectly balanced or as utilitarian as the original. Look at that strong tip on there. Love that. I've got so much confidence when I use this knife. I feel like I can do whatever I need to with it. I'm not going to damage it. It's just going to hold up. So I love the 940-2. Like I said before, I think it's the best one of the entire line. Moving on, and this is the last one. This is number 1, guys. Number 1 for 2018. This is the one that I would say I've carried the most. When I go on trips, when I travel, this is the pocket knife I take with me. When I don't know what else to take and I'm not sure what I feel like carrying, this is the one I end up throwing into my pocket. I don't think you'll be surprised. Spyderco Pair 3. You will be a little surprised by some of the modifications I've done to it and why I kind of did what I did to continue carrying it. But I think those modifications are really part of what make it my knife, and not only that, why I enjoy carrying it so much. So first off, first thing you can see there is the Lynch Northwest pocket clip, deep carry pocket clip, cut away so that you can still have something for the lanyard hole there, throw something through there and not interfere with it. Goes on easy. I have bent it out once by accident, and as you might predict, you might suppose, this point and this point are the weak points of this pocket clip. So they will be the spot where this pocket clip gives if it decides to bend on you. But it's so nice as far as deep carry that it makes a Pair 3 much, much easier to carry than it had been in the past. The Pair 3 from Spyderco, fantastic knife. There's the Pair 2, Paramilitary 2 in comparison. I've done this comparison before, but that's how they look next to each other. This one's been a fantastic knife for a long, long time. Not throwing it away, not going to stop having it in the collection, but this is the one that I've been using a lot more frequently. Switching to the other side, let's tell you about the other modification. This is the custom G10 replacement scale made by Alan Putman in Coyote Brown. You can see this nice texture to it, real cool looking. And he makes both, obviously, for one side and the other. The only reason I'm not wearing both sides of that scale is because you can't use this pocket clip with that scale. It is drilled out, it is milled out to work with the original the original pocket clip. However, this modified pocket clip sits differently, fits differently, and won't fit into that milled out space on that side. I didn't bring that other side down with me, but you just have to take my word for it that it doesn't quite work. So that's one downside to getting into something like this. The other potential downside, 80 something bucks. Yeah, not cheap. 90 bucks actually, about 90 bucks for these a set of these scales. Not cheap, like I said before. You can buy a pretty nice knife for 90 bucks. You can buy this plus have some spare change for 90 bucks. You're on your way to buying this one for 90 bucks. So why would you get into these scales? Well, it really comes down to how much do you like your Para 3. And if you like it that much and you think that some extra texturing on one side of it or both sides of it would be something you enjoy, then just do it. Just do it. I mean, spend the money if it's something you're going to like, right? So again, 90 bucks or so, but I like it a lot. And this has definitely made the Para 3 my Para 3. And I think I carry it more for that reason. And again, a great size, feels great in hand, does lots of great work, and is always kind of confidence inspiring. So Para 3, that's number one, guys. Surprised? Are you guys surprised by this list? I don't know. I guess I am. I wouldn't have thought that all these knives would be on this list at the end of 2017. I wouldn't have thought that. But here we are at the end of 2018, and this is my list. This is the top 5. I'd love to hear about your top 5 knives or some of the favorite ones that you've bought or used or carried in 2018. Let's keep that all going down in the comment section down below. Until then, and until next time, I'm the Late Boy Scout. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you guys.